Show them who we are.
After the death of T'Challa, his family and friends tried to continue his wish of opening Wakanda to the rest of the world. The problem is that the rest of the world wants to weaponize vibranium and are willing to go to war over it. At the same time, a new nation rises from the depths of the ocean after the search for vibranium jeopardizes their safe, secluded lives. Black Panther Wakanda Forever is a good follow-up to the events of the original Black Panther movie, as well as a good emotional send-off to Chadwick Boseman's T'Challa. It makes the loss of Chadwick the heart of the movie, the primary motivation and source of emotion for the core cast of characters, and at the same time, the movie pushes the MCU forward, without lingering too much on the past. The story of Wakanda Forever is an interesting one. The plot is at times a geopolitical thriller akin to the works of Tom Clancy. There are nations and organizations operating in secrecy, vying for power, or more specifically, vibranium. There are political movements that risk the events escalating into full-scale war, and the rise of a new nation adds complications to matters, offering opportunities for confusion and fear. All these elements work well in developing a grounded, believable, and relatable story. At the same time, the movie explores the various forms of grief and loss, with some characters seeking vengeance and lashing out, and others dwelling on and relying on their emotions rather than their brains. Plus, as the latest entry into the MCU, there are connections to the larger story being told and developed. Sadly, these connections and threads are the weakest of the movie, often feeling unnecessary and ultimately resulting in very little. They are not boring or bad by any means. None of the movie is, in fact, but at almost 3 hours long, there are obvious moments and scenes that did not need to be in the movie at all. Another pass through with the editor or writer may have trimmed some of these moments, delivering a shorter and perhaps better movie. The lack of T'Challa opens the door for a new main character. This time around, it's Letitia Wright's Shuri who is the primary focus of the movie. Unlike the first movie, Shuri is darker, more serious and more layered now. She is dealing with a loss, harbouring grief and guilt, and Letitia does a great job at showing her frustrations and the depth of her emotions and feelings. One could argue though that this Black Panther movie is much more of an ensemble piece. Okoye and Nakia and Queen Ramonda all step up into larger roles this time around, and almost like an episodic TV show, they each get their own segments and moments in the spotlight. It's wrong to highlight one actor over the other in this movie because the cast is fantastic. Unlike the first movie, these supporting characters feel much more detailed and developed, with greater roles and moments, more emotion invested into the things they're saying and doing, and far more agency. They are no longer assisting the main character in their story, but rather they are becoming main characters. The actors showcase their skills brilliantly, and it's a great demonstration of good writing and direction when supporting characters can take the lead and never alter the pace or interest of the movie. On the opposite side of things is the villain. Namor, a Latin American character with long history, finally makes a splash in the MCU. Namor is a mutant who wants to live in peace with his people. Only the recent search for vibranium jeopardizes that, so he makes it clear he will not allow the surface world to impact his or his people's. Like Killmonger in the first Black Panther movie, Namor is given an origin story and a clear, relatable motivation. He is physically and mentally imposing. He is sympathetic, his past is rooted in real-world history, and we come to understand his position. However, his overall goal is a tad exaggerated and not entirely well thought out. To keep his people safe, he wants to take over the world. By the third act of the movie, despite being very likeable as far as villains go, he does fall a little into being a standard superhero villain. The actor playing him though, named Tenoch Huerta Mahia, is great in the role. He makes him a layered villain who is more than just angry with bad plans for everyone else. We see his private life, we see he is liked by many, and he isn't necessarily an evil person. Overall, Namor will go down as one of the MCU's better villains. although there is some confusion with his name because no one in the film can agree on how it's pronounced. Some call him Namor, others call him Namor. Black Panther Wakanda Forever is also a gorgeous movie. The cinematography and direction are great. The use of lighting is fantastic, with shots composed in an artistic, stylish way that also evokes feelings and emotions and sends a message. The underwater sequences are great too, providing a different look and vibe to the MCU while also clearly trying and successfully achieving a different look and style in comparison to DC's Aquaman or Fox's Avatar movies. Wakanda Forever is not without its flaws. The major one is that of the structure and predictability of the movie. While the story and plot are interesting throughout, there are a lack of surprises and twists in the movie. The only real surprise being a character who was not previously revealed to be in the movie. It's disappointing because without the surprises or the twists, a lot of the emotional moments and a lot of the dramatic moments are devoid of tension and sometimes fall flat. They never really reach their full potential. Plus, the character of Ironheart is featured in the movie, and while the actor is great in the role and has some cool moments, after their initial introduction, they become somewhat redundant, primarily being a less interesting version of Iron Man, supporting the action rather than the story. This is another example of a part of the movie that arguably could have been cut. It also does not help matters when her Ironheart armor simply looks bad, like a goofy Power Rangers concept outfit brought to life. Another flaw of the movie is that of the action. The action scenes of Wakanda Forever are rarely all that exciting or special. There is a lot of great build up to them and some cool moments here and there, but the action often feels like a forced requirement of the genre rather than one needed for the story. The final battle, for example, lacks a new spin or twist on superhero third acts, with generic good guys versus bad guys combat ending the main narrative. One action scene featuring Okoye versus a group of villains on a bridge is well done, with an interesting, almost desperate twist on things for the hero. The hero here is outnumbered and outgunned, and it's a tense, well choreographed scene with good stakes on the line. Black Panther Wakanda Forever is a good superhero movie with geopolitical messaging as well as a strong emotional story focusing on the real life loss of Chadwick Boseman. The cast are fantastic in this movie, with almost every supporting character taking their moments in the spotlight, and thanks to good writing and direction, they maintain interest in what is a long movie. The main flaw of the movie is its length, with unnecessary subplots and some disappointing action scenes. As a goodbye to Chadwick, it's good and emotional. As an entry into the MCU, it's entertaining.